Welcome to the deep dive. We've got quite a stack of sources today, and taken together, they really give us a sense of India right now. It feels like a nation juggling, well, quite a lot.
Yeah, high-stakes policy debates on one hand, massive economic changes happening internally, plus these moments of, intense national feeling, both pride and concern.
Exactly. We've got everything from a huge cricket win with political undertones to this major shock in the IT sector driven by AI.
And then there are these red lines being drawn in trade talks. Big stuff.
So our mission today, as always, is to go beyond the headlines. We're aiming to be like your curated news digest, but digging much deeper.
That's the plan. We'll unpack the facts, the context, and what it all means, looking at these 9 top headlines for October 6th, 2025. We're focusing strictly on the details and the sources.
Trying to piece together the current geopolitical, economic, and social picture. No fluff, just the core information and what it suggests.
Right. Think of it as connecting the dots, seeing how these different events, from global diplomacy to domestic tech shifts, fit together. Let's jump right in. First up, the cricket pitch.
Okay, first headline. A major sporting win, but one that definitely carried some extra weight. India's women's cricket team beat Pakistan.
And quite convincingly, too, by 88 runs in the ICC Women's World Cup 2025.
That victory puts India in a great position, right? Top of the points table?
Yes, secures the top spot for now, gives them 4 crucial points early in the tournament. It's a strong start.
Now, looking at the scorecard itself, India got 247 in their 50 overs. That seems solid.
It is solid, but what's really fascinating and tells you a lot about the team effort is how they got there. This was actually India's highest ever ODI score, where no single batter hit 50.
Wow, really? No half century?
None. It points to a real collective contribution, everyone chipping in, not relying on one star player.
So who are the key players then? The sources mention Manhana.
Smriti Mandhana got them off to a decent start with 31. Then Harleen Diyal played a vital role in the middle, scoring 45, just shy of that 50 mark.
And Richa Ghosh finished things off.
Exactly, with a crucial 35 not out. It was that kind of consistent effort down the lineup that built the total.
What about Pakistan's bowlers? Diana Baig took wickets.
She did, yeah. 4 wickets, which looks good on paper, but she went for 69 runs.
So quite expensive, though.
Quite. A high economy rate. It suggests that while she was taking wickets, India still managed to keep the scoreboard ticking over against her. Didn't quite manage to contain them.
And the pitch conditions played a role too, didn't they? Jemima Rodriguez mentioned something.
Yeah, she did. Post-match, she said the pitch had some moisture, causing the ball sort of stop on the surface.
Meaning it wasn't easy for batting? Timing would be tricky?
Precisely. Slow conditions makes timing difficult. So India's consistent scoring looks even better in that light.
Okay, so India sets 204-7. How did the chase go?
Well, this is where India really tightened the screws. Their bowling was sharp. Kriti Good, in particular, was outstanding.
What were the figures?
3 wickets for just 20 runs. Incredibly economical and impactful.
That must have put Pakistan under immediate pressure.
Huge pressure. And Pakistan, remember, had won the toss and chosen to field first, maybe hoping to restrict India. But their chase just crumbled early on.
Yeah, or really.
They were reeling at 26 for 3 by the 12th over. A disastrous start.
Ouch. Did they manage any kind of fight back?
There was a brief period, yeah. A partnership between Sidra Amin and Natalia Pervez. They put on 69 runs, which offered a bit of hope.
But it didn't last.
No, once Amin got out in the 40th over, that was pretty much it. The resistance broke, and Pakistan were bowled out not long after. The Indian spinners and the pressure just proved too much.
And this whole match happened against a backdrop of tension, right? Held in Colombo.
Yes, in Sri Lanka, because of the political situation between India and Pakistan. And the tension was obvious. The sources explicitly note no handshakes were exchanged.
None at all. Not at the toss, not after the match.
No. A real departure from the usual sporting etiquette. Tells you something about the atmosphere.
And there was that weird delay, too. Something about flies.
Oh, yeah, that was bizarre. A 20-minute delay during India's innings. Not for rain, not for bad light, but because they had to bring out fumigators to deal with a massive swarm of flies bothering the players.
You couldn't make it up. Just adds another layer of strangeness to an already high-pressure game.
It really does. And the captain's reactions afterwards were interesting, too. Pakistan's captain, Fatima Sana, felt they missed chances in the field.
Thought they could have kept India under 200.
That's what she suggested, yeah. Lamented those fielding errors. On the flip side, India's captain, Harmanpreet Kaur, was full of praise for her bowlers.
Especially Good and the spinners.
Yes, credited them for creating chances, although she did admit India dropped a few catches too. But overall, obviously pleased with the control they showed.
So looking ahead, India's got 2 wins now. They head home to play South Africa.
That's right, a strong position. And it's worth remembering, for the listener, the bigger picture here. Neither India nor Pakistan has ever won a Women's World Cup, either ODI or T20.
So every win, especially against a rival like Pakistan, feels like a significant step towards that goal. Shows they can handle the pressure.
Absolutely. It demonstrates depth and resilience under intense scrutiny.
Right, let's shift gears. From asserting dominance on the cricket field to defending economic boundaries. We're talking about External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar now.
Yes, he gave a really significant speech at the Kautilya Economic Conclave 2025. Quite a strategic address.
And the core message sounded very clear, very assertive, basically saying any trade deal with the U.S. has to respect India's red lines.
Exactly, unequivocally. He stressed that openness is fine, but it can't compromise core national interests. It's a strong signal about India's negotiating stance.
So what exactly are these red lines? He spelled them out, didn't he?
He did, very deliberately, laid out these non-negotiable priorities. There are 3 main ones.
Okay, let's list them. First,
Digital sovereignty, that's number 1.
second,
Agricultural protections, crucial for India.
and third.
Priorities for domestic manufacturing, supporting local industry.
And this is all happening while trade talks with the U.S. are ongoing, possibly picking up steam again under the current Trump administration.
Precisely the context. These comments are directly relevant to those negotiations.
Let's dig into digital sovereignty a bit. What does that likely mean in practice? Data localization.
That's almost certainly a huge part of it, yes. India has been pushing for rules requiring data on Indian citizens to be stored and processed within India.
Which tends to clash with U.S. tech companies' preferences, right? They prefer data to flow freely.
Absolutely. They argue it helps optimize their global services.
Yeah.
So, setting this as a red line is India saying, we control our digital space. It's a direct assertion of jurisdictional control.
And agricultural protections, it's about safeguarding farmers.
It is. A massive part of India's economy and society relies on agriculture. So protection means being able to use tools like minimum support prices, subsidies, maybe tariffs.
They shield Indian farmers from potentially cheaper imports, especially subsidized ones from places like the U.S.
Exactly. It's about food security, rural livelihoods. These are fundamental domestic commitments India isn't willing to trade away easily.
Jaishankar also talked about the global situation, didn't he? Mentioned turbulent times.
He did. He framed India's stance within a context of global uncertainty. Shifting alliances, he mentioned, and also the changing nature of conflict.
Not just traditional warfare.
No, he explicitly brought up economic coercion and cyber warfare as key threats now. This suggests India sees a need for a foreign policy that's agile, protects against these newer forms of pressure, and maintains strategic independence.
Which ties back to the domestic focus. He mentioned Make in India and the PLI schemes.
Yes, the production-linked incentive schemes.
Yeah.
These are all about boosting domestic manufacturing, making India more self-reliant.
So the PLI schemes, just for the listener, they basically give companies incentives to produce goods in India.
Correct. Attract investment, build local capacity. Jaishankar's point is that trade deals must support these goals, not work against them.
It sounds like a very India-first approach in a way.
It is. He was quite clear, saying something like, we are not looking to replicate someone else's model. India wants pragmatic engagement, but firmly on its own terms.
So the message to the U.S. and other potential partners is dialogue is welcome, but these red lines, digital sovereignty, agriculture, domestic manufacturing, are non-negotiable starting points.
That's the clear takeaway. Respect these priorities, or a meaningful trade deal probably isn't on the table. It signals an assertive, self-confident India in its international dealings.
Okay, let's unpack this next one. Because moving from defending economic borders externally, we now hit this huge internal challenge. A massive disruption in India's giant IT sector. $245 billion industry.
Yeah, this is a really critical story, arguably one of the biggest socioeconomic shifts happening right now. It impacts potentially millions of livelihoods.
And the core issue is AI, generative AI.
Essentially, yes. The IT sector, which has been this massive engine of job creation for decades, is now seeing widespread job cuts. Companies are restructuring incredibly fast to integrate generative AI.
What's driving the speed? Is it just AI itself?
It's a mix of things, really. There's ongoing global economic pressure, for sure. Demand for traditional IT services, especially from key markets like the US, has been slowing.
And AI comes in and just accelerates everything.
Exactly. Generative AI tools are evolving so rapidly, and clients are demanding solutions that are faster, cheaper, and frankly, smarter. Service providers have to adapt, and quickly.
And the adaptation involves layoffs.
Unfortunately, yes. That's the immediate, very human cost.
Yeah.
The estimates are in the tens of thousands of jobs cut over the past year alone.
Wow, tens of thousands. Which kinds of roles are most affected?
It's mostly the traditional software service roles. Things like routine software testing, basic system maintenance, level 1 support functions.
The kinds of tasks that AI is getting quite good at automating.
Precisely. These platforms can often do those jobs faster, potentially with fewer errors, and obviously much cheaper than human employees.
And who's most vulnerable in this shift? Is it entry-level staff, experienced people?
It seems mid-level professionals are particularly feeling this squeeze. Maybe folks with 8 to 15 years of experience, often skilled in older legacy technologies.
Why them specifically?
Because their existing skills often don't match the new demands of the AI era. There's a big skills gap. But it's not just them.
Entry-level hiring is down too?
Dramatically. Campus recruitment has really slowed. Why?
Wow.
Because AI tools can now handle a lot of the routine coding and testing tasks that used to be the training ground for fresh graduates.
So it's hitting both ends of the experience spectrum in different ways.
It seems so. And this isn't just one or two companies, it's sector-wide.
The big Indian names, Infosys, Wipro, Tech Mahindra.
And the global giants, with huge operations in India, Accenture, IBM, Cognizant, they're all doing it. Streamlining, restructuring around AI.
It sounds less like a temporary downturn and more like a fundamental shift in how the industry operates.
I think that's right. It's about efficiency gains and productivity boosts driven by AI adoption.
So what's the industry doing about it? Are they just cutting jobs, or is there a pivot happening?
There's definitely a pivot. Companies are aggressively shifting resources towards the new high-demand areas.
What's this?
Specialized cloud computing skills, advanced data analytics, cybersecurity is huge, and of course AI development and implementation itself.
So they're investing in upskilling, trying to retrain the existing workforce.
Yes, there's significant investment going into upskilling programs, trying to create pathways into these new roles.
What kind of roles are we talking about? We hear buzzwords like prompt design or MLOps. What are those?
Good question. Prompt design, or prompt engineering, is basically the skill of crafting very precise instructions to get the best results out of generative AI models for specific business tasks. It's less about traditional coding, more about understanding the AI and the business need.
Okay, and MLOps?
MLOps, or machine learning operations, is about managing the entire life cycle of machine learning models, deploying them, monitoring their performance, maintaining them reliably in a production environment. It involves data pipelines, governance, ethics. Quite different from standard software development.
So a completely different skill set is needed. It sounds like a tough transition for someone used to, say, Java development for 15 years.
It is a significant shift, no doubt. And this leads to a real tension we're seeing.
Between the optimism and the reality.
Exactly. Industry leaders are often saying, look, AI will ultimately create more jobs than it destroys. They point to the need for human oversight, ethical checks, creative AI applications.
Which might be true in the long run.
Maybe. But the short-term reality for many is job insecurity, intense pressure to learn new skills very fast, and uncertainty about where they fit in.
And if entry-level hiring is down, where does the next generation of talent come from? Who gets these upskilling opportunities?
That's a critical question. It risks creating a bottleneck down the line. The government seems aware of this disruption, though.
They've launched initiatives.
Yeah, things like Future Skills Prime. It's a platform aimed specifically at boosting digital skills and AI literacy across the workforce, trying to bridge that gap.
But it feels like a massive test for the entire sector and for India's position as a global IT leader. Can they reinvent themselves and their workforce fast enough?
That really is the multi-billion-dollar question right now. The outcome will shape the sector for years to come.
Okay, let's shift focus again, this time to a really concerning public health issue. Pharmaceuticals. The government in Uttar Pradesh has taken quite drastic action, hasn't it?
Yes, a very significant move. They've ordered the immediate seizure and testing of all cough syrups across the entire state. This came directly from the UP Food Safety and Drug Administration, the FSDA.
Why such a sweeping order? What triggered it?
Alarming reports, unfortunately. Reports linking adulterated cough syrups to child fatalities in other states. Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, potentially other regions too.
Child fatalities, that's incredibly serious.
It is. The FSDA commissioner stressed the absolute urgency here, aiming to prevent any further harm within UP. It's a precautionary but necessary step given the context.
Is there a specific product they're worried about?
Yes, the immediate trigger seems to be a product called cold drip syrup. Tests found it contained diethylene glycol, or DEG.
DEG, I know that name. It's highly toxic, isn't it? Not something that should be anywhere near medicine.
Absolutely not. For the listener, DEG is an industrial solvent. It's poisonous. When ingested, it attacks the kidneys, causes acute kidney failure, severe neurological damage.
And it can be fatal, especially for children.
Tragically, yes. Children are particularly vulnerable due to their lower body weight. It's a known dangerous contaminant.
And they know where this contaminated cold drip syrup came from.
The source has been traced to a manufacturer called Ms. Cezanne Pharmaceutical. Sometimes the name appears as Ms. Cezanne. They're based in Kanchipuram district in Tamil Nadu.
And the alarm was raised by another state?
Yes, the state licensing authority in Madhya Pradesh flagged the contamination first in a communication dated October 4th, just a couple of days ago.
How does something like DEG even end up in cough syrup? Is it deliberate? Accidental?
That's the crucial question authorities need to answer. Sometimes, tragically, it's used as a cheap, illegal substitute for legitimate, more expensive solvents like propylene glycol or glycerin that are supposed to be in syrups.
So cutting costs.
That's one possibility. Or it could be gross negligence, severe contamination due to incredibly poor manufacturing practices and quality control failures. Either way, it's catastrophic.
And this isn't the first time Indian-made cough syrups have been implicated in child deaths, is it? There was Gambia, Uzbekistan.
Sadly, no, it's not isolated. Those incidents in recent years caused international outcry and put immense pressure on India's pharmaceutical regulators and the Union Health Ministry.
Has that led to changes, tighter regulations?
It has spurred action. The Union Health Ministry now talks about a zero-tolerance policy towards spurious medicines. They've issued notices to many firms, and importantly, they mandated pre-export testing for all cough syrups.
Trying to rebuild trust internationally.
Exactly. But this latest incident domestically shows the challenge remains. The swift, statewide action by the UP government reflects the intense pressure now on authorities at all levels to enforce quality control much more rigorously.
It sounds like a systemic issue that needs constant vigilance. Restoring trust, both domestically and globally, is going to be key.
Absolutely. DEG adulteration is a recurring nightmare, and preventing it requires robust oversight from manufacturing right through the supply chain.
Right. Let's pivot now from a public health concern to something much more positive on the economic front. Consumer spending. It sounds like the recent festive season was a big one.
A really big one, yes. We're talking about the Navratri Dussehra period. Reports suggest a massive surge in consumer spending.
And there's this trend people are calling premiumization. What's that about?
It essentially means consumers aren't just buying more, they're often buying better, choosing higher quality, more feature-rich, and often more expensive versions of products.
And the overall numbers look strong.
Very strong. Retailers are reporting year-on-year sales growth of around 15 to 20%. Some experts are calling it the best festive season performance in a decade.
Wow. What's driving this boom? Is it just pent-up demand?
It seems to be a couple of key things. Rising disposable incomes play a part, definitely, but also, crucially, GST reductions on various goods.
Ah, tax cuts making things cheaper.
Exactly. Making products more affordable, which encourages people to open their wallets, maybe stretch their budget a bit.
So this premiumization, what kinds of products are people upgrading to?
We're seeing it clearly in big-ticket items. Smartphones, for example, strong demand for models priced over $20,000. Large-screen TVs are popular, washing machines, and especially appliances with AI features built in.
Any specific examples from companies?
Yes, Blue Star, the appliance maker, gave a great example. They noted a clear shift where consumers who might have previously bought a 3-star rated air conditioner are now opting for the 5-star model.
Which is more energy efficient, but also more expensive up front.
Correct. It shows consumers are thinking longer term, valuing efficiency and quality, and perhaps feeling they can afford that slightly higher price point now, maybe partly thanks to those GST cuts, easing the overall burden.
So the tax cuts effectively narrowed the price gap between standard and premium.
Precisely. It makes that aspirational product seem more within reach. It nudges the consumer to upgrade.
Was this boom just about expensive electronics, or did it lift other sectors too?
No, it wasn't just high-end. The sources say mass market segments like apparel and footwear also saw really good momentum.
Any specific price points doing well there?
Yes, the managing director of Liberty Shoes, Anupam Bansal, pointed to the Euro 1,000 to 3,000 price band as showing the most traction in footwear.
So the boost was felt across the board, benefiting the middle class, not just the affluent.
That seems to be the case. The GST cuts likely helped broaden the purchasing power.
And geographically, was it just the big cities driving this?
Interestingly, no. Godrej reported really strong growth in non-metro areas, something like 30% growth there, compared to 12% in the metros.
That's significant. Suggests rising incomes aspirations are spreading beyond the major urban centers. Tier 2 cities are catching up.
It definitely points that way. It shows the economic momentum isn't confined to just a few pockets. It's becoming more widespread.
So overall, this premiumization trend, combined with strong growth, signals a maturing market. Consumers are more confident, more aspirational.
That's the analysis, yes. And retailers seem quite optimistic. This isn't just a short-term blip. They expect this aspirational buying to continue through the upcoming Diwali festival, too.
So potentially a strong end to the year for the Indian economy, driven by the consumer.
It certainly looks that way based on this festive performance. A real bright spot.
Okay, let's move into the world of global finance now, and specifically digital currencies. Back to the Kautilya Economic Conclave, where Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman also spoke about stablecoins.
Yes, and her comments were quite pointed, really a call to action for governments worldwide.
What was the main message?
She urged governments globally to get ready proactively for the rise of stablecoins. These are the digital tokens pegged to traditional currencies like the US dollar.
And her warning was?
That failure to adapt, to figure out how to regulate and integrate these things, could mean nations get left behind as the global financial system evolves. It was a strong caution against inaction.
Why is this so significant coming from her?
Because it's one of the clearest acknowledgments we've heard from a top Indian policymaker that, like it or not, digital currencies, especially stablecoins, are becoming a permanent fixture in the global financial plumbing. They need to be dealt with, not just ignored or banned outright.
And her proposed approaches?
Coordinated international regulation. She explicitly called for countries to work together on rules, aligning India's stance with efforts already underway by bodies like the IMF and the Financial Stability Board, FSB.
What are the big risks they're trying to manage through regulation?
There are two main ones everyone worries about. First, monetary sovereignty. If a privately issued stablecoin, say a dollar-pegged one, becomes hugely popular in a country, it could undermine the central bank's control over its own currency and monetary policy.
Makes sense. And the second risk?
Financial stability. What if the company issuing the stablecoin doesn't actually have the reserves to back it up properly? Or if those reserves are risky or illiquid, you could get a run on the stablecoin, potentially triggering wider financial panic. Think digital age bank run.
So coordinated regulation is about creating global standards to prevent those scenarios, ensuring transparency and proper backing.
Exactly. India, especially with its influence in forums like the G20, is pushing for a unified approach, rather than a patchwork of national rules that could be exploited.
How does this fit with India's own digital currency plans? They're piloting an e-rupee, right?
They are. The e-rupee is India's central bank digital currency, CBDC. So they're pursuing a two-track approach, developing their own state-backed digital currency while also figuring out how to regulate private ones like stablecoins, hedging their bets, in a way.
Is everyone in India on board with this approach? Is there debate?
Oh, there's definitely debate. The sources mentioned G. Padmanabhan, a former RBI executive who's warned against being too dismissive or restrictive towards stablecoins.
Why? What's his concern?
His argument is that it could stifle innovation. India has a very vibrant fintech sector, and overly harsh rules on stablecoins might hinder its growth and global competitiveness in this emerging space.
So it's a balancing act for the government.
It really is. Sitharaman's comments acknowledging the reality of stablecoins, but insisting on strong, globally coordinated regulation reflect that balance. India wants to participate strategically in this financial evolution, but without sacrificing stability or control.
It sounds like they're trying to position India as a thoughtful player, maybe even a leader, in shaping how the world deals with digital assets.
That seems to be the goal. Policy agility, domestic clarity, but also active engagement on the global stage to set responsible rules.
Right. Let's swing back to trade now, specifically India's relationship with China and the big regional trade deal, RCEP. There was an interesting comment from a Chinese economist.
Yes, Licking Zhang from
Okay.
a finance studies center in Beijing. He made a fairly direct offer, or suggestion, really.
What was it?
He stated that China would be willing to increase its imports from India significantly if India were to decide to join the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, or RCEP.
RCEP, that's the huge Asian trade bloc. India decided not to join a few years back, right?
Exactly. India was involved in the negotiations for years, but pulled out in 2019.
So China is dangling an incentive now. Join RCEP and we'll buy more of your stuff.
That's the essence of it. Zhang argued that joining RCEP would make Indian goods much more competitive within the region,
How so?
because tariffs on goods traded within the RCEP bloc are scheduled to drop progressively, eventually reaching zero over the next decade or so. That would give Indian exporters much better access to markets across Asia, including China's.
Why did India pull out in the first place? What were the concerns back in 2019?
The main worries were about market access for Indian goods into other RCEP countries, particularly China, and fears that joining would flood the Indian market with cheap imports, especially from China, worsening India's already large trade deficit.
And that trade deficit with China, is it still a major issue?
Oh, absolutely. The figures for fiscal year 2025 underline the problem. Indian exports to China actually fell by about 14.4%, down to $14.3 billion.
While imports from China.
Imports rose by 11.5%, hitting $113.4 billion.
Wow, so the trade deficit got even wider. Significantly wider.
Yes, very significantly.
Yeah.
It highlights exactly the concern India had back in 2019.
But Zhang's argument is that RCEP could actually help fix this imbalance. That sounds counterintuitive.
His logic seems to be that the structured framework of RCEP, with its falling tariffs and common rules, would actually facilitate more imports from India into China and other member states. Perhaps also encourage Chinese firms to invest in manufacturing in India to serve the wider RCEP market, which could boost Indian exports eventually.
It's an interesting argument. Did he provide any other context?
He did mention the broader economic picture, pointed out that China's own GDP growth had slowed to 5% in 2024, while India's economy was growing much faster, 7.8% the first quarter of FY25, projected at 6.5% annually.
Suggesting maybe China needs new growth drivers and regional trade is key.
Possibly. He also highlighted that with rising protectionism elsewhere, like from the U.S., regional cooperation through blocs like RCEP becomes even more important for economic stability for everyone involved.
So this puts India in a tricky position, doesn't it?
It really does. On one hand, you have these ongoing significant geopolitical tensions and strategic concerns about China, plus the very real fear of being overwhelmed by Chinese imports if tariffs disappear.
But on the other hand,
RCEP represents access to the world's largest free trade area. The potential economic benefits correcting the trade deficit, boosting exports, integrating into regional supply chains are huge.
so it's a classic dilemma. Weigh the massive economic incentives against the political hurdles and strategic risks of deeper integration with China.
That's exactly the calculation facing policymakers in New Delhi. China is clearly pushing for this regional integration, despite the tensions. India has to decide if the potential rewards now outweigh the risks that led them to withdraw just a few years ago.
Okay, our final headline takes us into territory that's deeply tied to national identity and sovereignty. A statement from RSS Chief Mohan Bhagwat.
Yes, he was speaking at an event in Satna, Madhya Pradesh just yesterday, October 5th. And he made some very strong, ideologically charged comments about Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, or POK.
What was the core message?
He used a powerful analogy. He likened POK to a room in India's own house that is currently occupied by someone else, a room where India's belongings used to be.
Implying it rightfully belongs to India and needs to be recovered.
Explicitly so. He vowed, "Tomorrow I have to take it back." It's a clear invocation of the concept of Akhand Bharat, or undivided India, a core ideological goal for the RSS.
Now, the timing of these remarks seems particularly relevant, doesn't it, given what's happening inside POK right now?
Absolutely crucial context. His comments come just as protests against Pakistani rule within POK have intensified dramatically.
These are protests led by the Awami Action Committee, the AAC. What are they demanding?
They're demanding basic things like relief from high electricity bills and taxes, subsidies on essentials like wheat flour, and generally challenging Islamabad's governance and demanding greater political rights. It's significant internal unrest.
And it's turned violent. There have been casualties.
Tragically, yes. The sources report that over the last 3 days or so, clashes between protesters and Pakistani security forces have led to at least 10 deaths.
10 deaths. Where did these happen?
Reports mention fatalities in several places: Dirkot, Muzaffarabad, Dadyal, Chamyadi, and over 100 people have reportedly been injured as well. It's serious violence, really undermining Pakistan's control narrative there.
So Pagwat's comments land right in the middle of this turmoil across the border.
Exactly. He also stressed themes of cultural unity in his speech, saying things like, "We are one and all of us are Sanatani Hindus," and praising the resilience of communities like the Sindhis, who maintain connections to the idea of undivided India.
Does this align with recent statements from the government? From the defense minister, perhaps?
It does echo comments made recently by Defense Minister Rajnath Singh. Singh had expressed confidence that Pak would eventually return to India, suggesting it might happen without military force, driven by the desire of people within POV for freedom and integration with India.
So you have the defense minister talking about Pak returning due to internal pressures, and the RSS chief making a strong ideological claim emphasizing reclamation.
Yes, the messaging seems quite coordinated, or at least highly aligned. Pagwat's call leverages the potent narrative of national identity and reclaiming lost territory at a moment when there's visible instability and dissent against Pakistani rule right across the line of control.
Effectively using the unrest in Pak as evidence, or perhaps justification, for that long-held ideological position.
It certainly appears that way. It links the ideological goal of Ahmad Bharat directly to contemporary events unfolding in the region, reinforcing the claim in a very timely manner. #tag outro.
Well, that brings us to the end of this deep dive. We've covered a lot of ground looking at this really complex set of headlines. It's quite a picture.
It really is. You see everything from generative AI fundamentally reshaping a massive industry like IT, leading to job cuts.
So consumer confidence surging, fueled partly by GST cuts, leading to this premiumization trend and the best festive sales in years.
And then these big geopolitical moves, drawing firm red lines in trade talks with the U.S., navigating the complexities of RCEP in China.
Plus, the deeply concerning public health issue with the contaminated cough syrups demanding urgent action.
So what does it all tell us about India right now? I think it shows a nation asserting itself very confidently on the world stage, setting trade terms, pushing for global rules on digital money, making strong claims on territory.
But at the same time, dealing with major internal challenges.
Exactly. Managing huge technological disruption in the workforce, ensuring basic public safety in pharmaceuticals. It really feels like a state of constant high-stakes balancing, both externally and internally.
A nation definitely in motion, navigating multiple fronts at once. Which brings us to our final thought for you, the listener, to mull over.
We've seen India strongly asserting its red lines in trade with the U.S., pushing for global stablecoin rules, both aimed at maintaining economic resilience and strategic autonomy.
So here's the question. How does the government's approach to the internal disruption in the IT sector, which involves significant job losses, often at global tech firms operating within India, align with that external goal of strategic autonomy?
Is the pressure on the domestic workforce to rapidly upskill and adapt seen as a necessary, perhaps painful, internal step towards achieving longer-term technological self-reliance and competitiveness on India's own terms?
Something to think about. How do internal adjustments serve those external ambitions?
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into today's critical narratives.
We'll see you next time.